Good morning.
Welcome to Get Real America. I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
And we're getting real, getting down to the nitty gritty, showing you the entire iceberg, not just the tip, as you will find in most of the lamestream media.
Yeah, something that is really exciting. Tybee Island, 135 years, Bill.
Yes, way to go, Tybee. And it has become quite the destination. Once upon just a sleepy little beach community here in Savannah. Once upon a time, we even tried to call it Savannah Beach, and the people at Tybee said, no, you're going to call it Tybee like it's supposed to. And so we do.
And I will tell you, I was not from here, and I called it Tibby, and I was quickly corrected on that, so it is Tybee.
In fact, excuse the interruption, but one of my best friends is also international runaway bestseller, Bruce Feiler, wrote Walking the Bible, and he did a HBO special on it. And Bruce had twin daughters, named one of them Tybee, and he said he was always happy to be back in Savannah because people understood that name. So not asking a lot of questions about it.
I like it. I like it. So with that, Tybee's actually has a bunch of events going on this week, and one of them is that you can go to the lighthouse in Tybee for free.
There are a lot of great things to do and see at Tybee. It's a great beach. There are a lot of wonderful restaurants that are there, lots of things to see and do. In fact, one of the most famous restaurants is the Breakfast Club. Usually you're on an hour wait if you're lucky. And these guys are gourmet chefs. I mean, they fix one heck of. That's one of the reasons there's such a long line outside every day to get. These were guys that actually catered the John F. Kennedy Jr. wedding, so they know their stuff. And the great events. They just had Pirate Fest a couple of weeks ago out there. So go out and say ARG. Coming up, always to open up the summer, they have the Beach Bum Parade. And don't wear your best suit when you're in the parade because they go through. It's a good thing there's an ocean out there to resupply, to get the water supply back in and desalinate the water, because it is a fun parade. But if you roll the window down in your car, you're going to be drying it out for some time.
I heard that you get very wet there.
You do. Yeah,
and people have a lot of fun.
Be prepared, but it is a blast. So they even have their own version of the St. Patrick's Day parade as well. That happens the Saturday before St. Patrick's Day as a general rule. We'll go back to it. Of course, we had this because of the pandemic where we closed everything down that we didn't need to. We didn't have the St. Patrick's Day parade for a couple of years. It was just awful.
Yeah, and they also do a fireworks show out there for the 4th of July that I heard is incredible. Do they do New Year's as well? I'm not sure on that. But.
Yeah. They have several events. They rebuilt the pier some years back because we had a beautiful pier and pavilion for years that burned down in the late '60s. Unfortunately,
didn't you guys used to have a Ferris wheel out there?
There was a Ferris wheel. There was a fair, and there ought to be another one. I would love to see. Just about every city now is getting one of these big, huge Ferris wheels. We've been on the one in Lost Wages, Las Vegas. We've been on the one in Myrtle Beach has a beautiful one. And several. You see and in fact, that's one of the shots. If you see a shot of London now, you'll see the big Ferris wheel that they have there, or whatever they call them.
Yes, they're very fun. There also used to be going out. So there's a lot of history in Tybee as well. Mm-hmm. There used to be a train, and that was the only way you could get out to Tybee, which I thought was super fun. And I'm like, let's take out the road. Let's put the train back.
Yeah, that's right. You could either get there, you had to either get by train or swim, or on a boat. But that was the only way out, and so they had their regular stop, and so there's still some memorabilia there. There's a Fort Scriven out there where soldiers trained during World War II, and so when they had a lot of military here in the area, they were billeted there, and there are pictures galore of all of that. And just near Tybee is Fort Pulaski, which was built in the early 1800s by then Captain in the Army Corps of Engineers Robert E. Lee. So I don't know if they're going to have to tear that down now because Lee has not fallen into favor because of all the political correctness and wokeness going on these days. Forget the fact that he was one of the biggest promoters of getting the country back together after the Civil War. But forget that. We're going to take his plantation, Arlington, and we're going to make it into a cemetery. So he paid for his transgressions that way. But Fort Pulaski is one of those iconic places. And when the Union Army actually took it over, when they took the Confederates out, there is a picture of what we think, Brittany, is the first baseball game
Oh, wow.
ever photographed. Baseball was a brand new sport. In fact, they spelled it with two words in those days, baseball, and it shows the soldiers out there in the quadrangle playing baseball. And as far as we know, that is the first the original photograph of a baseball game, organized baseball game being played.
That's very cool, Bill.
So neat stuff.
Yes. Don't they have a Marine Center out there too?
They do, yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, they also have a private school for kids, the Maritime Academy out there for kids, and they one of their specialties is training and having a Marine Center. And we also at Skidaway Island nearby, not on Tybee itself, has a small aquarium. Which is very, very nice. I mean, it's nothing like the Georgia Aquarium, of course, which ought to have been here, but it's in Atlanta because there was an ocean there 60 million years ago. So that's where it is. But it's very nice, and it's certainly worthwhile going to see. And Savannah State University here has a wonderful marine biology program. But there's a lot to see and do at Tybee, and climb the lighthouse.
Oh my gosh,
that's a great view.
One of the best views, and I took a photo with my camera, and I'd only been here a few months when I went, and it was beautiful, breathtaking. The stairs, a little bit of a climb, and kind of makes you a little dizzy going up them. But
it's become, like we say, it's become quite the destination and become popular, especially after we had staycations, for a while with all the pandemic crap that was going on. So a lot of people just rediscovered their own little beach 20 miles away, and a lot of celebrities there. Sandra Bullock has a place there. You're at the Tybee Market. There's one supermarket on the island. Tybee IGA supermarket. You might be walking down the aisle and be shopping with Sandra Bullock. It's great.
Yeah, Tybee's a wonderful place, and it's very unique. So if you have the opportunity, get out there this week and celebrate them being around for 135 years.
Yeah. Harry Spiritus is a good friend of mine, and he was in Coast Guard Auxiliary, but his father and his grandfather go back. They own the original Tybee Hotel, which has since been razed, and there's a new place there. But a lot of history, a lot of pictures going along with that. And Harry has since divested himself of the hotel business, just living the good life. But he built the first actually ocean view restaurant at Tybee, which I always thought was interesting. I said, here you got this beautiful beach out there. Why don't you have a restaurant that overlooks it? and until about 25 or 30 years ago, we didn't have one.
So
but he built one. It was really cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, who doesn't love to eat by the ocean?
I'm telling you.
Doesn't get much better than that. So, moving on to other things that are going on.
Yes. By the way, early voting starts today, or started yesterday.
It started yesterday.
What I meant to say was that we're 3 weeks away from the general election.
The November 8th is when you should be voting. We recommend that you vote in person if at all possible.
And folks,
national holiday, we should really go with that.
This needs to be a landslide. It can't be. I'm hoping it's not going to be just 1 or 2 percentage points. I hope it is like it was in when Newt Gingrich and the gang took over as Speaker of the House, first time that the Republicans had control of the House in over 40 years, back in about 1993, 4, and that was the red wave that took everybody by surprise. Even though the late Peter Jennings on ABC said America threw a temper tantrum. No, we were sick and tired of what the hell was going on in Washington. And I hope it's going to be the same way this time. That there's a lot of this built up anger and frustration and motivation for people to go out and really vote the Republicans in. And I want it to be a landslide.
Absolutely. And even if there's a Republican that you don't want to vote for, you definitely don't want to vote for the Democrat. So just
Isn't that
saying.
the truth?
Just
if
saying.
there's a D by the name, don't vote for him.
Yes. This is one of those times where we just need to vote a straight Republican ticket. And, I think that we should do research on candidates and things like that. But we see the lockstep that the Democrats have and that they don't really separate. Like there's cinema has been okay.
Sort of. But when they circle the wagons faster than anybody, you notice a Republican steps out of line, says something in a bathroom stall that they don't like somewhere, and suddenly this guy's got to resign, and he does.
Yep.
But we got Eric Swalwell, who's sleeping with a Chinese communist spy, and he's on the security committee.
Yeah, intelligence, I believe.
Intelligence, yeah.
So, I mean, I think there needs to be some major changes, and we can't do that if we don't have a majority in the House and the Senate. And we need to turn Joe Biden into a very lame duck president where he can't get things done because, unfortunately, we would rather have no action than any of the action that he takes. So
I know, and of course, he doesn't want to say that he's not running again because that would automatically making him a lame duck. But believe me, he ain't running again.
There's no way that he's capable of it.
You can see the cognitive. I mean, on almost day to day,
yeah,
how bad it is. And please, for you folks in Pennsylvania, if we have some watchers up there, if you send this guy Fetterman to Washington, I ain't ever setting foot in your state again. I mean, good Lord, this is a guy who's campaigning about releasing prisoners, who's campaigning against destroying fracking and something like 80% of the entire Pennsylvania economy. Are you stupid?
I really haven't seen a pro for Fetterman. I think that they are also hiding how bad he is cognitively. They're even saying that, he has a handicap and we're being ableists now. So, but you have to have cognitive ability to be in these roles. And we see the damage that is done by someone that is not cognitively there and also probably has operated in a way that has negatively impacted all of us. Speaking of Joe Biden and some of the deals that he has done, even when he had cognitive ability. So,
well, and going back to Fetterman, did you see the interview that he did on BSDNC?
Yeah.
And even the NBC reporter said that this guy he had to use a laptop or to read what the question was. And she said even beforehand you could tell he had cognitive problems of understanding what we were talking about. And the media just had a cow. All of a sudden, they're attacking her. Not the fact that Fetterman can't string two sentences together. And and with his friend Joe Biden, that's what he actually called the president.
Oh, geez.
And he says, and the Eagles are better than the Eagles, in a speech that he made just recently. And he had a stroke. It was really bad. I'm glad he recovered. I hope
He's
he
not
gets
recovered.
better.
He's
but he
not
has
recovered.
no business going to Washington for a 6-year term.
Well, and this is, like I've said before, Bill, this is very stressful on someone. My grandma had a stroke, and it's a very stressful experience.
Oh, yeah.
And you really do need time to recover. And even, this has been 2 years ago, and there are certain things that have never come back for her. You can still have a conversation with her and things like that, but there are certain words that she just is like, I don't know what it is. Like they don't process the same after they've had a stroke typically.
No, they don't. And it's a real shame. It really is. And it's a very cruel attack.
But he's married, isn't he? And his wife is encouraging this. I can't imagine having a husband and saying it's fine.
Dr. Jill, who's not a doctor, keeps encouraging her husband to stay president of the United States.
Well, she was also booted in an Eagles game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
This weekend. So,
Brother.
People aren't happy, and I think that that's the thing that they're really trying to hide how many people are not supporting them, so that whatever's going to happen in October and November, that they're trying to make it so we're not surprised.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like. So that means we do have to go out and vote. We need to vote in person, and we need to make sure that we're taking our friends to vote, and that you guys are doing your research and also understanding how people impact your life on a daily basis.
And it needs to be a landslide. So you vote, grab a couple of your friends and vote, because the National Association of Always Complaining People has, they always advertise, if you can't get to the polls, we have cars ready for you, somebody will come and pick you up. Well, you do the same thing. You suddenly become instant Uber.
Yeah, exactly. Get out there, take them to vote.
I kept encouraging some of the people in some of the big communities here, call the NAACP and tell them that you'd like to ride to the polls. See how that's going to work.
How did you ever?
Haven't received anything on it yet.
Okay.
Well,
okay.
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I think there's, like I said, there's a lot of stuff going on. Check out your candidates. And go to rallies. Like I will tell you, Bill and I did go to the Herschel rally on, what day was that, Saturday?
Yeah.
And it was full of just very lively people that, and people were just having fun.
Yeah, very
It was-
positive,
yeah.
very positive. And Herschel was terrific. He comes out and he gave maybe a 5-minute presentation.
Yep.
And stayed with the issues and said, all right, I'm done. Got work to do. Come on now, let's take pictures. And he stood there waiting for people like Brittany and anybody else who wanted a picture. Got a picture with Herschel.
Yes, and I did need a picture.
Yeah.
I needed to send it to my parents back home so they know that I'm doing stuff.
Rafi was nowhere in sight. He took off faster after that debate on Friday night when he got his head handed to him. He took off faster than, as my grandmother used to say, Moody's goose. Now, I don't know how fast Moody's goose is, but according to her, it was pretty darn quick.
Well, and the thing that bothers me is that then he took the time to attack him on Sunday when they were having a debate
Another debate.
Yeah, that Herschel Walker never agreed to go to, and then it turns into this big thing of, oh, he's scared, he's this, and it's like, come
Atlanta
on,
Press
he was
Club.
just there on Friday and he kicked your butt.
Yeah, he told him weeks ago that he wasn't going to come to an Atlanta Press Club debate because he knew that was just nothing but a death trap. So good on him. I know the optics don't look good. David Perdue didn't show up for a debate against John Ossoff during the runoff, and I thought that was a big mistake. In this case with Herschel, he told him a long time ago. They're still trying to make a capital of the fact that he didn't show up. He told him he wasn't going to show up.
Well, they just had a debate on Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that, we're going to show you another debate that was pretty darn good for the good guys or the good gals coming up next here on Get Real America. So that's coming up. That's Marjorie Taylor Greene. And isn't it interesting, Brittany, that when conservatives tell the truth, it's controversial.
Oh, yes.
But when Democrats make these outrageous statements, anti-Semitic statements, that's just politics, or that's just par for the course.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Reverend Warnock's running a nasty, dishonest campaign. Perfect for Washington. The Reverend doesn't even tell my full story, my true story. As everyone knows, I had a real battle with mental health. Even wrote a book about it. And by the grace of God, I've overcome it. Warnock's a preacher who doesn't tell the truth. He doesn't even believe in redemption. I'm Herschel Walker, saved by grace, and I approve this message. Reverend Warnock.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is your governor speaking.
Today's training evolution, dogfighting, taking on the corporate media.
The rules of engagement are as follows. Number 1, don't fire unless fired upon, but when they fire, you fire back with overwhelming force.
Does it say that in the bill? I'm asking you to tell me what's in the bill.
Number 2, never ever back down from a fight.
If I could complete the question, though.
So you're going to give a speech or ask a question?
Number 3, don't accept their narrative.
It's wrong. It's a fake narrative. I just disabused you of the narrative, and you don't care about the facts. It's why people don't trust people like you, because you peddle false narratives.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's turn the pump.
The last 3 years, Georgia's been tested in ways we could never imagine. And it fell to Governor Brian Kemp to successfully lead us during these troubling times. Georgia is still first in the nation for business. Our unemployment rate is the lowest in state history. Today, people come to Georgia to succeed, start a business, raise a family. Kemp has always backed the blue, stopping the radical left from defunding local police. He passed a tough new election integrity bill that, as the governor likes to say, made it easy to vote and hard to cheat. And while some during COVID-19 shut down their economy, Kemp kept our schools and businesses open while keeping Georgians safe. A long list of accomplishments. Fighting human trafficking, increasing teacher pay, greater access to quality health care. A governor who works for Georgians. All of us. Governor Brian Kemp.
Welcome back
to Get Real America.
I'm Brittany Brown.
I'm Bill Edwards. Glad to have you aboard this morning on this Tuesday, 3 weeks away from Election Day.
Whew, it's so close. Can't imagine what's going to happen in the next 3 weeks, Bill. Whew.
Well, you're not kidding. And believe me, they're going to be put. This is, I think, the most money ever spent, maybe ever, but at least in a midterm. And even the Savannah Morning Page, what's left of our newspaper, the Friday headline was midterm turnout likely near presidential levels.
I think so, and I think it's because things are not good for people right now. Like, and it's not like one of those things where you can just say, you know what, like politics, I'm over it. Don't really want to participate, especially when you see gas prices the way that they are. I believe California just hit an all-time high over the weekend. And, you know, the funny thing is I believe there was a quid pro quo. And what? I think, yeah. And it was actually recently.
A Republican, no doubt.
No.
What?
It was our commander-in-chief, Joe Biden, with the Saudis, I believe.
I thought that was verboten.
I thought that was, terms for impeachment.
Yeah,
I mean,
impeachment hearings. Where's Nancy Pelosi with starting up those? Because they did 2 of them for Donald Trump that were a waste of time and money.
We'll get to Nancy in a minute.
Yeah, okay. yeah. We got some good stuff from Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah. But Joe Biden, he asked the Saudis, "Can we delay this until after the election?" He was asking for a month.
He goes over. First of all, he accuses this guy. What was it, of being a cold-blooded murderer?
Yes.
On the Khashoggi assassination.
Yes.
During the campaign, and then he goes over and kisses his butt and gets his knees bloody, begging for them to start pumping more oil when we're standing on the biggest oil supply in the world right here. And they didn't commit to anything, and suddenly last week they said, okay, we're cutting back 2 million barrels a day. And Biden had a cow and said, and now we have the evidence that he said, can you put this off for a month? In other words, these oil prices are going to hurt Democrats' chances of a re-election or getting elected.
Well, that's one thing he understands, isn't it?
Yeah. at least he's not that much in the dark.
Yeah. He gets that gas prices impact everyone, and I just don't understand these people, Bill. And also being conservative is apparently just very controversial these days.
Yeah, boy, no kidding.
And you know who is very controversial in the state of Georgia?
Mm-hmm.
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah, she's been kicked off all of her committees because she said so many controversial things. Actually, there's people always say they want to hear the truth, okay? And when they hear it, sometimes they ain't too happy about it. There are a couple of my favorite proverbs from years, from 2 different civilizations that grew up totally separated from each other. They came to the same conclusion about truth. There's a Spanish proverb that says, "Tell the truth, then leave quickly." And there's an Arab proverb that says, "He who tells the truth should keep 1 foot in the stirrup." In other words, get ready to ride on.
I also heard that the truth is like poetry. Everyone says they like it, but no one wants to read it.
Exactly. So here it is, Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's in her debate the other night. And
you're well known for making controversial statements. Detail your process for vetting and fact-checking your statements that you make in public and post to social media.
Can you tell me what's controversial about defending the freedom of speech, or what's controversial about defending our border, or saying we need to? Can you give me an example?
No, you do this every time we have a debate where I ask a question that's obvious, and you're like, what do you mean? You were kicked off of your committees for saying things were controversial. You've apologized for controversial statements, right? Those types of things. What is your process for fact-checking and vetting the things that you say in public?
The things I say in public are the truth, and that's why they're so offensive to Democrat activists in the media just like you. And you're asking me a blanket question with no example. I stand by the things that I say. I stand by saying that we need to secure our border, that we need to protect all of our freedoms and our rights, that we need to stop the America Last Democrat communist policies that are destroying our country. I stand by the words that I say. They're just offensive to Washington, D.C. and the swamp creatures there, because the words that I speak are the same as Americans back home, the same as people in Georgia's 14th district. And the words that I speak are the truth. And you want to know something, Josh? Sometimes the truth hurts, and Washington deserves to hear it. We're over $31 trillion in debt. Our government has failed the American people, and right now this administration has us on the verge of a nuclear war with Russia, where they care more about funding a war in Ukraine than they care about protecting Americans, helping homeless people on the streets, and securing our border and stopping fentanyl from killing young people in America.
She was on fire during that debate.
I love it. And it's like she said, the truth hurts.
It does.
And so she gets kicked off of her committees, but the Democrats never kick anybody off theirs.
Yeah, and Marjorie Taylor Greene's been very, very outspoken, especially when it comes to the child mutilation that we're seeing from physicians. And she really wants to ban that from being able to happen at the federal level. She introduced a bill. I don't know if we'll ever see it come to light, but I would love to see that happen.
Brittany, the fact that this is happening in medical schools, what's being taught in our medical schools, did you see the oath that the medical students, freshman medical students at the University of Minnesota had to take recently?
No.
It was one of the most pathetic things I've ever seen in my life, about how these doctors needed to get in touch with their white rage, and how they needed to, even though they're here in Minnesota, and apparently the medical university and maybe the university itself, I'm not sure if they're separated by any geographical stuff like we are here in Georgia. Our medical schools in Augusta and the universities in Athens, but we're on indigenous people's land that we took from them. So we need to understand and be sympathetic. I mean, it was like, these kids are having to go through this. And that was one of this is the freshman class. So I talked to a physician's assistant recently and said, the medical profession's going to hell in a handbasket. And this is one of the reasons why. But the fact that they have a wing at Vanderbilt University, and I guess at Massachusetts as well, in Boston they have a children's wing where they are mutilating kids, whacking off body parts, and going through these gender altering operations and procedures that are going to destroy these children. And Vanderbilt at least caved to the pressure recently and said at least temporarily they were suspending their transgender or their transsexual operating facilities.
Well, when you make $1.4 million off of each child you mutilate, I mean.
They even admitted that it was a monetary.
Absolutely.
Thing, just like Planned Infanticide, Planned Parenthood. They make all this money off body parts. And remember when I was so proud of the Susan G. Komen Foundation when they said we're not going to give any money to Planned Parenthood anymore, and the media just went nuts. And unfortunately, the Komen Foundation caved to the pressure and started returning their going back to their support of that satanic organization.
Yes, that's why we need to give the media less opportunity to put pressure on people. We need to mute a lot of the mainstream media, and that's why you should be watching Get Real America.
Mm-hmm. And we'll be right back.
Reckless spending, driving up inflation, higher prices that hurt Georgians.
I'm trying to save $2, and Senator Raphael Warnock votes to spend almost $2 trillion?
$140 to fill my truck. And Senator Warnock voted to allow $140 million to be spent building a resort in Florida?
$15 for burgers. Senator Warnock voted to allow $15 million to be spent on a soccer stadium in New Jersey.
Tell Senator Warnock to stop voting for reckless spending. Stop.
Stop. Please stop.
I don't do it out of obligation. I don't do it because I'm told. I don't do it because I was trained. I don't do it to be bold. I stand for our national anthem because I'm forever grateful to be free. I stand for the anthem to respect those before me. We have wounded warriors who would return only if they could. Doing more for this country than any single person should. Stand up. Their lives were given for you. So as long as the Star-Spangled Banner yet wave, I stand for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
At my core, I'm a runner, but I wasn't always fast. Here in Wrightsville, Georgia, is where I grew up, and I got real fast. I learned discipline, faith in God, and the value of hard work. I learned about sacrificing the things you want in the moment for the future you know you can have if you work hard enough. You might stumble, make mistakes, but you only fail if you give up. The politicians pick American against American, rich versus poor, black versus white. I don't believe in that garbage. I'm a conservative, not because someone told me to be. I'm a conservative because I believe in smaller government, a strong military, and making sure all people have the opportunity to pursue their dreams. My name is Herschel Walker. I'm a kid from a small town in Georgia who's lived the American dream, and I'm ready to fight to keep that dream alive for you too. I'm Herschel Walker, and I approve this message.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard here on this terrific Tuesday, 3 weeks away from Election Day. And you just saw a commercial there for Herschel Walker. Kudos to him for a great debate here on Friday night. It was just terrific. A lot of media here in town that was covering that, and you could see the excitement downtown. Of course, they wouldn't let us flesh and blood creeps in, but we asked for press credentials, but we were denied because we're just small potatoes. Apparently, the network, the national guys, had more because of the people who were in charge of this was a WSAV, the local national Barack Channel affiliate, that are on your side. Apparently, they weren't on ours.
No. So we're going to keep that in mind moving forward, aren't we, Bill?
We are.
We're going to keep that in mind moving forward. So, we brought up Nancy Pelosi earlier, Bill.
Yes, we did. Yes. And this woman is the north end of a southbound horse.
She is just something else, Bill. Mm-hmm. That's all I can really say about Nancy Pelosi. The more I listen to her, the more I want nothing to do with this woman.
She is just a hideous human being, and I'm not talking about physical looks. No. She is just a despicable person. And she is the person who is responsible for January the 6th.
Absolutely.
She was the one who was supposed to call up the National Guard. We have it on absolute concrete authority that President Trump ordered, I think, 20 to 30,000 more troops in because he said this is going to be dicey. You need to get those troops here. She just turned it down, and so did the mayor of Washington, D.C., who is now begging the National Guard to come in because 30 or 40 illegal immigrants have shown up.
Well, and I've seen photos of D.C., and I will tell you, it is a tent city haven this is our capital. I can't believe they've allowed this to happen to D.C. It's
I can't
crazy.
believe that any of these cities have allowed this to happen. We're finally cleaning up one of our tent cities here in Savannah, and thank God. It was becoming such an eyesore, and we're talking also about where are the wonderful Earth Day people that care so much for the planet and the health of the planet. These people are destroying the health of the planet. When you have 40 or 50,000 people on the streets of Los Angeles that are using the sewers as their bathrooms, and all that raw sewage is going out into the Pacific Ocean. Where's what exactly? Where are you? Why aren't they cleaning this up? This is a health hazard as much as anything else. Police won't even go into these places sometimes because they're afraid they're going to catch something.
Yep, and I don't blame them.
I don't either.
So going back to the lovely Nancy Pelosi, you know, she actually, it's weird. There's this video of her, and it looks like she has a film crew on January 6th.
Yeah, why were cameras in her office on January the 6th? And here is what it looked like.
Oh, he comes, I'm going to punch him out. This is my moment. I've been waiting for this, for trespassing on the Capitol grounds. I'm going to punch him out, and I'm going to go to jail, and I'm going to be happy.
Oh, she's going to punch Trump, is what that was referring to.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they
this
had
woman of peace.
Yeah, well, I think so. There's a little bit of that video that was cut off, but in the beginning it says, you know, we've told him he can't come here because we can't protect him. So, and then Nancy Pelosi goes on to say, I wish he would come here. I'd punch him in the face and I'd go to jail. But you can see that there, you know, where's all of that video from January 6th? Like, I would love to see it. What happened as they were following Nancy Pelosi around?
There are hundreds of hours of video that we have not seen yet. But even though the January 6th committee has had prime time and everything else, and of course the ratings, of course, have been in the toilet where they belong.
People have to have 2 or 3 jobs. They don't have time for TV, Bill.
Exactly. But this committee that has wasted so much time, and remember how the Democrats screamed bloody murder when the Republicans put together the Benghazi, a legitimate discussion to find out why the Hildebeest and Barack Obama hadn't sent military aid to protect. We had a congressman killed for the first time in 40 years. We had 3 Navy SEALs who were retired SEALs, American heroes, trying to defend themselves, and they were all murdered by these rioting thugs. And all the Hildebeest had to say, you know, is that these people were coming around. They decided to kill some Americans one day. And by the way, what difference? At this time, what difference does it make? Well, it makes a lot of difference because they're still dead.
Yeah, they have no moral compass, Bill. They don't care about anything but the money.
The meter need recharging.
Well, they don't care about anything but the money. I mean, it's not, someone said to me once, it's not blue and red, it's green. Yeah. Everything in Washington's green. Everything in politics is green because it's all about the money.
Money is the mother's milk of politics. And the Democrats are screaming bloody murder. They were not participating in this scam, in the real hearings that Trey Gowdy, who was congressman at the time from South Carolina, was putting on and trying to get to the bottom of what happened and how we lost. And they kept saying that they tried to send help, or that it was too dangerous to send anybody in. That's what this is for. You call the police when there's something going on, when there's something wrong, and you call the cops and said, "Well, that's a bad neighborhood. We can't go in there." No, that's what they were supposed to do. We had Marines. I think they had to change uniforms 3 times because the Hildebeest was saying that we don't want these guys coming in and thinking that it's the American military that are coming in to save them. So they changed to civilian uniforms, and they changed back to Marine uniforms. The 2 commanders, commander of AFRICOM and the naval commander, the Army commander and the Navy commander, both ordered rescue operations. They were both countermanded by the President of the United States, and both of them lost their commands the next week.
Wow. That's crazy, Bill.
And now we got this January 6th scam that has cost us millions of dollars. They haven't called Nancy Pelosi once. She was the one who refused to get she was the one who was supposed to bring in the National Guard. Haven't called her. They haven't called a single Democrat before this committee.
Well, that's not surprising, Bill.
No, it's not. But at the same time, it just shows you how horrible it is, and what a waste of money it is. How little the public cares about that as far as the committee itself goes, but how little we care about this when, as we have mentioned on numerous occasions, when people realize we just took a look at our 401ks. They're now 301ks, by the way.
Yeah.
Your 401k, let's say you had $400,000 in your 401k 2 years ago. You've lost over $75,000 of that money in the last in less than 2 years because of this administration and their ridiculous policies.
Well, I also think when you look at it, Bill, we don't get to live. We can choose to live above our means, but it usually does not end well for someone that does that, correct?
Yeah.
This government thinks that they can continue to spend and spend and spend. They don't live on a budget. And these hearings, like you said, are costing us so much money. And it's like, it's money we don't have, and no one cares. Move on, get the investigation done. There's no way that it should take 2 years to do an investigation, Bill.
No.
And guess what? The American people deserve to see all of the thousands of hours of that video to make our own determination. I don't want to take Nancy Pelosi's word. I don't want to take Kevin McCarthy's word. I want to see what happened.
January 6th was bad. There's no doubt about it. I mean, that's no argument there. And there was some rioting going on. The president, however, did not call for it. He said go peacefully, for one thing. And I have it on absolutely concrete, impeachable sources who were there on the ground that saw Antifa and Black Lives Matter people changing their clothes into MAGA outfits to go into the Capitol.
Well, yeah, where's Ray Epps?
Yeah.
Why is he this golden person in this experience, but yet he's the one that was, I mean, he started on Friday night telling people, we got to plan to go into the Capitol. We got to plan, like, and then you have police officers opening the door. There's just too many things that make it so I don't believe anyone. I want to see the footage. I want to make my own determination, Bill.
And only one person died that day.
And her name was Ashley Babbitt.
And she was killed, as far as I'm concerned, in cold-blooded murder.
Absolutely.
By a Capitol security officer. And for no reason whatsoever, she was outside. She was like, and this is, by the way, she served us three terms. She was in the Air Force, 3 tours of Afghanistan. And she is murdered in cold blood. And I even heard people defending this guy from BSDNC and the rest of the Communist News Network by saying she was a trained warrior. If she had gotten in there, no telling what she could have done. She was like, 5'2"?
Yeah, she's a little thing. She wasn't. Yeah. And here's the thing. People that serve their country typically are not going to go in and try to do anything nefarious. And like I said, people were opening the doors for these people. I mean, and I think you can all imagine when you get in a group situation that maybe you don't make decisions that you would normally make. But, you know, I think that there's a lot of things that just don't add up. And until we see everything, I don't believe it, Bill.
Well, the real tragedy also is the fact that some of those people are still in jail.
Absolutely.
In isolation. And they have not had a chance to talk to their lawyer. The family hasn't seen them. And very few. Marjorie Taylor Greene is one of the few congresswomen who's actually gone in, and Nancy Mace as well, have gone in and tried to get these people the representation that they deserve. And they've been held in this Washington, D.C. gulag for what is tantamount to almost 2 years now. And
with no charges filed.
No charges filed, and yet we have people on the streets, convicted felons who are going out continuing to kill people or beat people up in subways, and they're released. The police haven't finished the paperwork on their arrest when they're back on the street.
It's absolutely crazy, Bill. And after the break, we are actually going to look at another crazy thing that happened in North Carolina, of all places.
Yeah. Wear your mask or else.
First of all, what I can do to make things better is bring people together. I love this country. I believe in peace through strength. If we have no strength, we're gonna have no peace. I believe in Back in the Blue. I believe in the Constitution. I believe that everybody should have a chance to have their faith. Do we have problems? Yes. Can we solve them? Yes. Georgia is my family. The United States is my family. So I'm going to fight and take care of them. I'm Herschel Walker, and I approve this message. There's 159 counties in the state of Georgia. And since I got into this race, I've been visiting almost every one of them just to hear from the people. They know I'm a winner. They know that I work. Well, the way I'm different is I'm not a politician, never have been. I'm a country boy that grew up in Georgia. I understand Georgia, and I'm going to fight for Georgia. We got to get this country back together. We got to support our police. We got to support our military. Most of all, we got to support our citizens. But what I am going to do is listen to the people. I'm going to get out here and I'm going to work for you. And I say what I'm going to do, and I do what I'm going to say. And we're going to make things happen.
No one who is alive today had ever experienced a true pandemic. And I'm hoping that now that this is over, people are going to, recognize that some serious errors were made and not repeat those. That's the best you can get out of it.
So what do you tell those people?
Vote Republican. That's what a lot of them are going to do anyway.
Yeah?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, more than 1 million people transferred over to the Republican Party, I think in 2021 alone. Find out what that number is.
I think Joe Rogan gave us a good reminder. Go vote Republican.
We are 2-3 weeks away now from the election, and we want to see big numbers. I want to see landslide numbers because the message has to be sent. Of course, we sent it's not Richard Nixon labeled us the silent majority once upon a time.
Mm-hmm.
The majority's not silent anymore. The government's just deaf.
Yeah, they kind of just want to do what they want to do.
Brittany, isn't it amazing? You would think you're supposed to learn from your mistakes, right?
Yeah, not if you're a Democrat, but yeah.
Well, that's true. Because look at the blue states, how poorly they're doing. Look how bad it is in those blue states. Look at the red states and how well they're doing. The ones run by Republican governors. We're doing great in South Carolina under Henry McMaster. We're doing great here in Georgia under Brian Kemp. We're doing great down in Florida with Ron DeSantis, who has become, the really whipping boy of the left. And then look at California. Look at Michigan.
New York.
Look at Pennsylvania. Look at New York and how bad it is. Now, you would think those governors, if they had 1 eye and half sense, would look back and say, okay, maybe if we did it with a balanced budget, maybe if we had some restraints here. We have a balanced budget here in Georgia, and we've got a $5 billion surplus. So when the pandemic came along and Brian Kemp said, look, we need $100 million for vaccination stations or whatever it was when we thought we needed them, we could write the check. We didn't have to borrow any money. Just write a check. Because we had the surplus, and now, of course, Stacey Abrams is campaigning on the fact that she wants to give all of it back to you.
And the other thing is policy matters, Bill. Don't vote on the person, because we're all imperfect people. Policy matters, and policy is what impacts your life. I know that people have a hard time with kind of the rough around the edges candidates, but those are the people that will fight for you, and you need that in someone to go to Washington and handle the crazies up there.
Uh-huh.
So, I think people really need to stop thinking so much that person hurts my feelings or whatever. It's like, is this person going to make policy that makes my life better? That's the question you guys need to ask yourself.
Now, as much as I don't particularly like Tim Ryan, who's running for Congress up in Ohio, I believe it is. He has, they're talking about people say, well, you don't agree with people all the time, and so if you got a politician you say, well, he voted for this or she voted for that, and I don't like that, so I'm not going to vote for him, even though I agree with 80% of the other stuff that they did. He's actually doing a pretty good spot, sitting there with his wife. He said, you don't agree with people all the time. Said, have you ever been married?
Yeah.
and it's a good analogy. My wife and I have been married 26. How she's put up with me for 26 years, I have no idea. But we don't agree with each other all the time. We have knockdown drag-outs over, not literally, of course, over some issues. And she's setting her ways on that, and I'm setting my ways on this. But we're still married. We still love each other.
That's the thing. There's a lot of compromising in life, isn't there, Bill?
There is. As Ronald Reagan used to say, your 80% friend is not your 20% enemy.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, policy matters, and you guys really need to understand what this law will do to impact your life. And I think that, you have to dig a little bit deeper because they've done such a great job of the manipulation of language that we see the Anti-Inflation Act, right?
Yeah.
But we all know that was an environmental bill. That's what that was. It had nothing to do with anti-inflation. It didn't help any of us. I mean, we see that every time we go to any store.
Yeah, like I said, you're going to lower your credit card bill today by going out and spending another $5,000. Not gonna end well.
No.
But thank God we've gotten rid of all the mask mandates for the most part.
I mean, yeah, but I heard this weird story, Bill.
Unless
you live in North Carolina.
North Carolina?
Yeah, North Carolina. Can you believe it, Bill?
So, a military veteran, a Navy vet, I believe, was arrested for not wearing a mask in court.
He wasn't even selected for jury duty yet. I think that's the other big thing.
He was doing his American duty,
public service
obligation to go serve on a jury, and was showing up. And this is what happened. And Tucker Carlson on Fox News, Tucker Carlson Tonight, interviewed him, and this is what happened.
States masks still serve a purpose. They give the government an excuse to punish people for no reason whatsoever and to sort the obedient from the disobedient. That just happened to one man in Harnett County, North Carolina. The man's name is Gregory Hahn. He showed up for jury duty in a mask-optional courthouse. When he got there, since it was optional, he said, I don't really want to wear a mask. So in response to this, the judge, a man called Charles Winston Gilchrist, threw Gregory Hahn in jail. Now, we would assume this be a made-up story, except it's not, because Gregory Hahn is joining us now. Mr. Hahn, thank you very much for coming on. Did we misstate that? It was a mask-optional courthouse. You opted not to wear a mask, and you went up in jail. How'd that happen?
That's correct. And some of my family thought it was a joke, too, when I sent the article to them. I never thought I would serve up to jury duty and end up behind bars. So it happened. There was no warning or requirements going into the courthouse. There was no mask mandate statewide, no mask mandate in Harnett County. Everyone walked in. There was 98 of us, and we were all in this jury assembly room, and we were told that masks are required per the judge. Now, we were in there for about 20 to 30 minutes, shoulder to shoulder, with 3/4 of us not wearing masks. So the virus, if there was a virus out there, contaminated us anyway. So I was called, when they called roll call, I made eye contact with the clerk, and she said, I need you to just come over here for not wearing the mask. So they isolated me from the courtroom, sat there until the bailiff got me, escorted me out of the courthouse, and I said, what's going on? She goes, apparently the judge wants to talk to you. I'm like, okay. So she brings me upstairs to the courtroom where the judge was having a case, reciting a case already. Doors open, motioned in. There's about 50 to 75 people in there, and I'm being told to stand before the judge. The judge then says, Mr. Hahn, I understand that you don't want to wear a mask. And I said, that's correct. And he says, and he says, why don't you want to wear a mask? And I said the exact same thing I just mentioned. There's no state mandate. The governor lifted it May 4th. There's no signs in the courthouse that you have to wear a mask. There's nothing. And he goes, well, it's my court, and I'm going to order you to wear a mask. And are you refusing my order? And I said, yes, sir, I am. And he goes, do you know what the consequences are? I proceeded to ask the questions like, what's the consequences for not wearing a mask? And he goes, no, for contempt. I was like, no, I don't know what the punishment is. And he goes, well, $500 fine, up to 30 days in jail. Now, my mouth is speaking before my mind really kind of wrapped my head around what I was going to say. And I said, I'm not going to wear a mask. And he goes, 24 hours in the Harnett County Jail.
You know, you would have been better just selling fentanyl to children, because that's now allowed. Can I just I know nothing about you. We've never met. I literally know nothing about you, but I can tell just by looking at you, you're probably not a Biden voter. And my guess is, I'm just guessing here, my guess is that the judge could feel that too. Do you think that may have had something to do with it? You're not obedient.
I had a feeling, yes, there was some definitely bias there. And I don't think the judge actually was prepared for me to say, no, I'm still not wearing a mask after he told me what the punishment was. So he had to go forward with his decision.
The judge sounds like a complete lunatic who I hope is taken off the bench soon. But what was jail like?
It was the worst 24 hours of my life. I was refused to make a phone call to my minor child who was home. I asked to be excused since I wasn't even selected for jury duty yet. It was still orientation. He could have exempted me. There was 98 people that showed up for jury duty. And I thought I was just going to be in a holding cell for 24 hours. No big deal. Still have my jeans on, my shirt. And after a while, I realized as 6 o'clock comes by, I'm like, okay, I got motioned in, got changed to an orange uniform, got a roll of toilet paper, toothpaste, towel, grab a mat, come with me, and I'm walking with inmates to a cell that I have no idea what this guy's in for. And I was there for about 2 to 3 hours in one cell, and then they called around 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. I couldn't tell what time it was because I had no idea, but I went past the guard shack, and they were watching Monday Night Football, so I had an idea it was around 9:30, 10 o'clock, and then they put me in isolation until 2 o'clock the next day.
This is...
And Tucker, if I could...
Please, go ahead.
If I can say one thing, one of the scenarios that I keep thinking about that I wish would have happened, it just took one person to make a stand, and no one else joined me. I wish there was a movie scene where more than like maybe 5 people stood up and joined me.
Yeah.
It's hard doing the right things. And I told my kids, you know what, always stand up for what you believe in. Don't be bullied.
That's right.
And stand up for what you believe in and what's right.
Well, no one's ever going to stand up with you the first time, and that's the point. That's why it's so important for one brave man to stand up and assert his dignity as a man and refuse to obey. And I'm grateful that you did, despite the price that you paid. Gregory Hahn, thank you, and thanks for telling us about it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I cannot believe that happened in North Carolina.
I can't believe it happened in America, much less North Carolina. I just, once upon a time, and I think this is why we were been asleep at the wheel. That's how incrementalism works, because I heard from, all the World War II vets that I grew up with. My parents were World War II vets. And they kept saying, that could never happen here. When we'd see things like that happening in other countries, thank God we live in America, because that could never happen here. Surprise, surprise. That's what happens when you don't educate yourself on the candidates, when you don't go to vote. As Plato warned centuries ago, those who do not participate in the political process will sooner or later find themselves ruled by their inferiors. Vote. You're 3 weeks out. For God's sake, vote.
Yes, and also learn to stand up with people. I mean, that had to be really hard for him to stand up. So
yes.
People, we need to stick together. So make sure that you're brave enough to stand up, or if someone else is standing up, make sure you have their back.
Amen. God bless. We'll see you for the Wednesday edition tomorrow. Hump Day. See you then.
Have a good day. Check us out on YouTube, Vimeo.